Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Dennis Brown, and today I'm going to share with you why most freight broker sales scripts, cold calling scripts, don't work. All right. So, why is your cold calling script not working? That's what we're going to cover in today's live. Again, thank you for joining me today. Every Monday at noon we do a Freight Broker Bootcamp live training. My name is Dennis Brown. Been an entrepreneur for over 25 years. Been very, very blessed. Started a freight brokerage back in 2003, ended up doing over $200 million as a freight broker, sold that company. But I'm also the owner of freightbrokerbootcamp.com, which is the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker and freight agent training program available. Trained over 10,000 students, and we offer a 60-day, 100% money-back guarantee. If you're curious about becoming a freight broker, freight agent, check that out. So today, again, we're going to talk about why most freight broker cold calling scripts don't work. All right. And that's what we're going to talk about. But before we do that, this is the agenda. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to hit me up in the comments with the city and state you're logging in from. I'll try to give some shout outs before we go into the training. But here's how it's going to work. We're going to do the live training. And then we're going to do another giveaway, maybe a Freightpreneur Tshirt, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. It'll be a free giveaway. And then we're going to go into live Q&A. If you stick around to the end, I will do live Q&A. I stick around. I answer questions from people who are live in the audience. I get to as many questions as I can. So again, thank you for joining me. So if you're struggling with getting shippers as a freight broker or freight agent, or you're really afraid of rejection when it comes to selling and getting shippers or getting customers, you're definitely going to want to tune into this training. But I will tell you this. There's something that's going to be upcoming very soon. I am going to be relaunching my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program. Okay. Now, my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program is where I take that piece of my brain, everything I know about freight broker sales, strategies, tactics, tools, and my entire system wrapped in a ball. And what I do is I transplant that into your head in a 5-week coaching program. Okay. It's called my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. You can't enroll right now. It's been sold out, but I will be opening enrollment very soon. And let me give you the link where you can get on the wait list. The only way you can get access to this is if you go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. All right. That is where you can join the wait list for my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. I think we put over 500 students through that program last year. At the end of the program, after they complete it, they're asked to rate the program from 1 to 10. And right now, out of all the people that have completed the surveys, I think we're like a 9.1 or 9.2 out of 10. I would have been happy with a 7, ecstatic with an 8, but we ended up with a 9.2. So it's the best program I've ever put together. People are seeing great results, and it talks about everything sales related and walks you from A to Z on how to get customers and the whole process of what that's all about. All right. So get on the wait list. It's going to be opening up in February. I don't have an exact date yet, but get on the wait list, because if you're not on the wait list, there's probably zero chance you're going to be able to get enrolled. Okay. So get on that wait list. Again, let's do some shout outs before we start the training. Cynthia Moore she's always here. Cynthia is one of the most consistent people here on Monday. I'm going to give you some props, Cynthia. Well done. From District Site, Maryland. Noah from Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Felicia from Jacksonville, South Carolina. Welcome. Janika, welcome. Holistic Logistics from Kennesaw, Georgia. Another person who's here consistently. Joe Almighty from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Blakely Friend from Phoenix, Arizona. Yasina Torres from Dalton, Georgia. Kevin Perry from Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome. Devin from Markham, Illinois. Thank you for joining me. Andrew from Bloomington, Indiana. Shonda from Canton, Texas. Maria McCarthy from Gillette, Wisconsin. Welcome. Mosin from Ontario, Canada. Ristina from New Jersey. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Who else we got here? Minister Keith Lemon from Baltimore. Mark Townsend from Eagle Point, Oregon. Marlon Roberts from East Orange, New Jersey. Welcome. Zoran Vasilev from Macedonia. Welcome. Sorry if I destroyed your name. And the ever so faithful and consistent Ozan Atkis from Lincoln, Nebraska. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. Old Young from Atlanta, Illinois. Malik from Philadelphia, PA. Nextlink from Valley Stream, New York. Matt McCall from Orlando, Florida. Jogi from DC. Tura from Cincinnati, Ohio. Man, we got people from all over the place. Listen, thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry I can't get to everybody, but here's the agenda today. First, I'm going to do the training, and the training is all about why most freight broker cold calling scripts don't work. Why your cold calling script is not working. I'm going to go through 4 or 5 points today on that, and we're going to break it down. And then second, we're going to do a giveaway. Okay. We're going to do, a free giveaway of the Freightpreneur T-shirt. Okay. We'll do a Freightpreneur T-shirt giveaway, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. And then we're going to go into live Q&A. So that's the agenda. That's where we're at. Here's my notes. Okay. Very concise, but this is a really important one. This is something I probably should have done a while ago, but I talk a lot about sales and sales training and cold calling and warm calling and all that stuff. But this was something that I think, I really think you guys are going to get some good benefit from this. So take some notes, listen carefully, come up with some questions for the end, and then we'll go from there. Let me grab a quick drink and then we'll start the training. Oh man. All right. So we got a bunch of people live. Awesome. All right, good. All right, guys. So listen, today I'm going to share with you why your freight broker cold calling script is not working. Why freight broker cold calling scripts don't work. That's the topic of today's training. I'm going to share with you 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons why cold calling scripts don't work. Now, there's going to be a lot of controversy around this because a lot of people believe that having a script is the best way to go. And I believe it depends upon where you are in your sales journey, right? So if you're very new to an industry or you're very new to sales, having some sort of a scripted outline, I think is valuable. But again, it really comes down to the quality of the script and how you made the script. So first, I'm going to go over the 4 things, the 4 reasons why your cold calling script is not working. Okay. Number 1, your script is boring. They are boring. Okay. Remember something, people. You only get 1 chance to make a good first impression. That's it. 1 chance to make a good first impression. You can't afford to blow it with having a lousy script, a boring script. If they think you're boring, then you lose. If you're compelling, you have an opportunity to win. Because remember, you've only got about 5 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds to get their attention, to not be boring, to be compelling, to be relevant, to be contextual. Okay. So most of the scripts are very boring. Okay. So that's number 1. You can't be boring. Remember the whole AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. The first and most challenging part of any sale, particularly when you're doing cold calling, is getting their attention. You cannot afford to be boring. That's number 1. Your script is boring. Your cold call messaging is boring. Okay. Number 2, they lack personality. All right. They lack personality. When you read a script that maybe you didn't write, or maybe you copied or pulled off line somewhere, that's not your voice. Number 1, you're going to probably sound like you're reading. Okay. Number 2, it wasn't necessarily written in your voice or in your personality or in your style. So the problem is, remember, personality is very important when it comes to building rapport. There's 3 stages that you have to achieve in order to get the sale. Know, like, and trust. Knowing you is step 1, right? They've got to know who you are. That's easy. Hi, my name is, I'm with XYZ. Here's what I do. The know part is easy. Anybody can do that. The like part is a lot more challenging, right? And the trust is by far the most challenging. So the problem is if your script doesn't allow you to show your personality, the challenge is going to be, you're going to get them to the no phase, but you're going to fail in the like phase, because people like people. People do business with people. They don't do business with scripts. They don't like people reading things. And when you're reading something, right, it's very easy to tell that it's a script when it's not in your own voice, when you can't incorporate your own personality into it, right? So that was number 2. They lack personality. Remember, Know, like, and trust. You got to get to know and like in that early in that call in order to move on to the next stage where you can start building trust. All right. Number 3, you sound like everybody else. Now, let that sink in for a second. If you had 10 cold calls, if you were a shipping manager and you got 10 cold calls this week from brokers, and they all sounded the same or pretty much the same based upon what they're saying, and they're saying pretty much the same script, because there's a whole bunch of very generic freight broker cold calling scripts floating around out there. And a lot of people just, pull them up online and try to utilize them. And they see a lot of rejection because, again, you sound like everybody else. One of the most important things and one of the fundamentals of my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program, which I'll talk about in a minute, is you have to learn how to be different. Different is better than better. So it's very hard for you as a broker or an agent to be better at rates and better at communications and better at technology and better at service and better. It's hard to play the better game. It's hard to be better than everybody at everything, but it's not hard to be different. And so the problem is when you sound like everybody else, you're going to get treated like everybody else. Okay. So you can't sound like everybody else. That's a huge problem, right? So that's number 3. You sound like everybody else. Generic sales scripts, they're not going to work. Okay. There is no one size fits all generic sales script that's going to work. All right. Number 4, because sales requires more than a magic cold calling script. I cannot tell you how many people over the years, and when I say how many, I mean hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people have come to me and said, hey, Dennis, can you give me a script to get shippers, right? Can you give me a cold calling script that's going to help me get shippers? There is no magic script. There is no one size fits all script. Here's what you have to understand. Even a good script only gets you in the door. So even if you have a really good script and you do really well in your opening cold call, the problem is if you don't understand the fundamentals of sales and you don't understand the AIDA, right? Attention, interest, desire, action. If you don't understand how to go beyond that first step, you're going to run into a wall because that cold call only did, in the first 5 to 15 seconds, all you're doing with that cold call intro is buying another minute or two to sell yourself into the next step, right? So just because you have a good opening doesn't mean they're going to give you the business. There's a sales cycle that you have to go through. So AIDA, right? So you have to understand attention, which is the cold call. How are you getting their attention? I've talked a little bit about that already. You got to be different, right? Stop being boring. And you got to build some personality and into it, right? Some of your personality into it. And then interest, right? This is where you have to learn how to ask good questions and, continue to build rapport throughout the process. You have to learn how to overcome objections. You got to learn how to close the sale without feeling or sounding like a slimy salesperson, right? And so that's where, sales, if you're going to be effective as a freight broker and you're going to get customers, you have to realize that the magic cold calling script is not the secret. You have to understand the overall concept of how to take a prospect from not knowing who you are to becoming a customer. And that involves a lot more than just a cold calling script. So having a full understanding of not only the techniques and strategies, but having a working system, right? And so that's the reason why I put together my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program. All right. I put together my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program because there were so many people struggling with just trying to use some generic cold calling script that I took that piece of my brain and I put it into an entire 5-week coaching program. Okay. Where I teach my best freight broker sales strategies, tactics, tools, and my entire system from A to Z, how I did over $200 million as a freight broker. Okay. And it is a 5-week coaching program where I will coach you for 5 weeks. All right. Now, it's not open right now and you can't get enrolled, but it will be opening very, very soon. We're going to open it sometimes in February or early March. And if you want to get on the wait list, you got to go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. It's the only way you can have an opportunity to be a part of the program. It's not a free program. It's a paid program. You're going to have to invest your time, energy, resources, and capital to be involved. But I can tell you that, we put over 500 people through that program. And there's nobody that's disappointed at the end of it. We have a rating of over 9.2 out of 10 from the survey people that we surveyed after they complete the training, right? So it's an amazing program. I would highly suggest you guys get on the wait list. Again, I hope you enjoyed the 4 reasons why your cold call is not working, right? Why your cold call is failing. Again, number 1 is they're boring. Number 2, they lack personality. Number 3, you sound like everybody else. Number 4, because sales requires a much more in-depth understanding than just how to read a magic sales script. So if you enjoyed that, make sure you like, comment, and share the stream. Again, if you're curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent, and you're just looking to get started in the startup phase, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. We've trained over 10,000 students, been in business over a decade, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee, no questions asked. Appreciate you guys being here. Have an awesome day, and make sure you join me next week for another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. All right, stick around, people. Don't disappear because I'm going to do a giveaway, and then I'm going to do live Q&A, okay? So hang tight. And let me see where we're at time-wise. And by the way, get on the wait list. I can't tell you how many people so here's what happens. I limit the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator to 100 people. Okay. It sells out in a few days, but I can't tell you how many dozens and dozens and dozens of people come to me after I've already filled the 100 slots and say, hey, Dennis, can I get enrolled? Hey, Dennis, can I get enrolled? Hey, Dennis, I want to be a part of the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm only telling you that this is a challenge that a lot of people have. And if you don't get on the wait list, there's 0 chance you're going to get an opportunity to get enrolled. So when you get on the wait list, you will be notified immediately via text. When it opens up, you'll be able to click the link. You'll get all the details about what the program is, how much it costs, all the requirements, everything. And then you'll be able to enroll or not enroll. But if you're not on the wait list, you have 0 chance. Okay, so get on the wait list. I can't stress it enough. All right. So I'm going to leave that up there for a minute. Let's do a giveaway. Let's lighten the mood a little bit. Again, I'm going to be opening that up in February, early March. I'm working on some of the changes and some of the updates and some of the things that are be a part of the program. So I'm really trying to get that done, and I'm hedging my bets here. I'm probably on schedule for a February launch. Okay. So you'll get notified if you get on that wait list. All right, cool. Let's do a giveaway. All right. So here's all you got to do. If you want an opportunity to win the Freightpreneur T-shirt, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. By the way, you can't buy this anywhere. This is just a shirt that I designed and created. As a matter of fact, I'm in the process of trademarking the Freightpreneur term, right? So that's in the process of being trademarked. But you can win one here. But you do need to be in the United States because I don't ship these overseas. I don't ship these internationally. And so here's all you got to do. Listen in here really quick. Pull out your smartphone. If you're on your Apple phone, go to the Apple podcast and search for Freight Broker Bootcamp. You will see the Freight Broker Bootcamp logo, and my bald, shiny head will come up. Okay, there it is right there. And all I need you to do is subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It will take you 60 seconds to do this. Come back in if you're on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, rate, and review, and then come back into the comments here, wherever you're watching this live, and say subscribed, rated, reviewed on Apple. Okay? Now, if you're on Android, then maybe you use Spotify. Maybe you do Pandora. Maybe you do Amazon. Maybe you do Google Podcasts. Whatever it is, wherever you listen to podcasts, go in there, search Freight Broker Bootcamp, subscribe, rate, and review, and then come back into the comments and let me know not only that you subscribed, rate, and review, but where you did it. So listen, this is important. Don't just say I subscribed. Don't just say, yeah, done. That won't get you entered into win the shirt. Subscribed. Here's what you need to say. Subscribed, rated, reviewed on Apple. Subscribed, rated, reviewed on Spotify. I need to know where you did this. Okay. That's an important ingredient for me in order to qualify you. Okay. So Maria did it. Subscribed, rated, reviewed on Apple. Perfect. So there's your template to follow. Maria did it on LinkedIn, but of course we stream this on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. So you're all seeing probably different comments, but ultimately you need to subscribe, rate, and review to the podcast. It's absolutely free, guys. It costs you $0. And there's over 146 free trainings, audio trainings. My favorite part about podcasts is I can do it when I'm walking on the treadmill, working out. I can do it when I'm walking my dog. I can do it when I'm driving, right? Because it's audio only. So you can listen to the best of the best of the best freight broker trainings. I release 2 new trainings every single week, 2 new audio trainings every week for you. Costs you nothing. Okay. Absolutely free to subscribe, rate, and review, and to consume that information. We've had rave reviews. I think we have, what is it now? We have almost 300 5-star reviews. Okay. Almost 300 5-star reviews. And I think we have a few 4 stars. So yeah, absolutely. Just give me an honest review, whatever you think about the training, whatever you think about the podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review, come back in. And that's just on Apple. That's not counting Spotify and Google and all the other places, right? But Apple's the most popular platform. So yeah, that's all you got to do. Come back into the comments. Let me know that you did it. And then I'm going to randomly pick one person to win the prize. And then we're going to move into Q&A. So hold tight. If you have questions about sales, about getting customers, about anything to do with freight broker startup or growing the business, stick around because I am going to do some live Q&A. All right. So you got about another 1 minute, and then we're going to do the giveaway. So you got under a minute to subscribe, rate, and review to the podcast. And again, this is an honor system to make sure you're honorable. It costs you nothing. It'll take you less than 60 seconds. All right. So we got about 30 seconds or so before we're going to pick a winner, and then we're going to go into live Q&A. So hold tight. All right, cool. Reginald, Jomo Mighty, Marlon Roberts, Vanessa Fuentes, Andrew. I don't have anything for podcast. Okay. Then sorry, you can't, there's no chance to win. Next link, Papa Bear in a Chair, Adrian Calderon, Steve J, Wendy Grogan, Maria McCarthy. Okay. So we got a lot of people, but right now you probably have about a 1 out of 10 chance of winning. So subscribe, rate, and review really quick. And I'm going to pick a winner. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, cool. I'm going to randomly pick a winner. Let me scroll through and point to somebody with my mouse. And the winner is Marlon Roberts. Subscribe, rated, reviewed on Apple. Marlon, congratulations. You are the winner of the Freightpreneur T-shirt. Listen carefully. Here's all you got to do. Go to my Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page. Okay? Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page. Like the page and then message me your full name, your full mailing address, your size. Okay. These are unisex sizing, medium, large, extra large, right? And then let me know that you won the podcast subscribe t-shirt giveaway. Congratulations, Marlon. All you got to do, message me with your full name, your address, your size, and that you won the podcast subscribe t-shirt giveaway and the date of the giveaway, which is the 30th. And we will send you out a shirt. You'll get it in within a couple weeks. And thank you so much, everybody, for playing along. Enjoy the podcast. Truly appreciate you subscribing, rating, and reviewing. Share the podcast. It helps us grow. All right. We've been ranked, just so you guys know, we've been ranked in the top 100 out of all entrepreneur podcasts on Apple, which is crazy. There's tens of thousands of those podcasts. Okay. And we've been ranked in the top 100. And that's because of you. All right. So thank you, everybody, for playing along. All right. Let's jump into live Q&A. If you have questions, hit me up in the comments. I'm going to get to as many questions as I can in the time allotted. Hit me up with questions, whether it be about this training or anything else, and I will do my absolute best. Here's what I know for sure. I will not get to everybody's question. Okay. There's always way more questions than there is time. So hit me up in the comments with any questions you guys have, and I will do my best to try to get to it. Try to be specific about your questions, but don't be too lengthy, right? All right, cool. First question. Adrian Calderon says, my customers ask me to show them my company as the holder of the certificate and them as insured. What do they mean? From the carrier COI, or do I have to obtain my own COI and insure them? Okay, so you have to, okay, my customer's asking me to show them my company as the holder of the certificate. Okay, so what they want to know is this. They want to know, I'm assuming based on what you're saying, is that they either want to be additionally insured on your insurance, okay? Or they want to be a certificate holder, or they want to be listed as a COI, right? On your COI. So they want it either on your insurance, okay, if you have insurance, or, and they may, if they're requesting this, they may require you to have insurance. Most shippers don't, but they may require you to have insurance. Or what they might be asking for is to see that you are a COI on any carriers that you use. That's probably not the case, right? You as a broker should be a cert holder for any carrier that you do business with, right? So that cert holder will allow you to get notified whenever there's any change in that carrier's insurance, whenever there's any updates or cancellations or issues, right? So you want to be a certificate holder for any of your carriers. And that's the same reason why your shipper wants to be a certificate holder on your insurance. Most likely they're asking to be a certificate holder on your insurance. I would clarify them with them exactly. Send them an email and just say, could you please clarify exactly what you're looking for as it relates to our insurance or any insurance requirements that you have. Just clarify it with them. And then at that point, you'll know. It's okay to clarify. It's okay to ask a clarifying question. Okay? Don't be afraid. Trust me. They respond. If they respond to you, that's a great buying signal. Okay? That's a great buying signal that they took time to do that. Okay, so let me see if I understand this. Would a cold digital connection be best first, then a cold call? Well, it's very subjective, Randall. All right. So what you're saying is, should I connect with them on LinkedIn and then call them? Or should I send them an email and then call them? So what you're saying is, should your first step be digital? And I think there's a lot of people that like doing it that way, but it's not the only way to do it. But what I like about what you're saying, Randall, is you're taking a multi-channel approach. You're not just using the phone and smiling and dialing and hoping people pick up the phone, because we know that certain people aren't going to pick up the phone. Certain people aren't going to respond to you on LinkedIn. Certain people aren't going to respond to you via email. But if you add all of those different components and all of those different channels, and you have the right messaging, right? And you do it properly, like I teach in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, you will exponentially increase your odds of starting a dialogue. So I like what you're saying, but I don't want to say that it's the only way to do it. But having, let's just play it out. If you were to send me a connection request, a compelling LinkedIn connection request, and I looked at your profile and I thought you were credible enough to add to my network, and I said accept, and then you called me a day later, 2 days later, 3 days later, whatever it was, and you referenced the fact that we just connected on LinkedIn, it could potentially help you. But if everything else you say beyond that sucks and you're not compelling, you really didn't achieve anything, right? So I think what you're saying has some merit, but I don't think it's the only way to do it. Maybe you want to start with a phone call and then follow up with an email or LinkedIn. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but I do like the multi-channel outreach strategy. It is a foundation principle of the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, okay, that I talked about for you guys to get on the wait list. So yeah, absolutely. Good question. Thanks, Randall. Devin asks, is it good to hit up shippers near me when I'm first starting out? Well, it definitely doesn't hurt but a lot of it depends upon your niche, right? What is your freight broker niche, right? And I've done extensive trainings on this, on how to develop your freight broker niche. If you want to learn how to figure out your freight broker niche, go to my YouTube channel. Okay, I'm going to pull it up here. Go to my YouTube channel. Once I can find it. Of course, it's not sitting here. Okay, youtube.com/freight brokers. And what I want you to do is go to that channel, subscribe, and then search in my videos. You can search in my videos by Freight Broker Niche, Niche, Freight Broker Niche, right? And I walk through an entire training. It's a 4-part training on how to develop your freight broker niche, right? Why am I saying niche or niche? It's strange today. It's your freight broker niche. Niche. That's how I call it. Some people call it niche. Some people call it niche. I call it niche, right? So it is forever known as freight broker niche. So go on there and go through that training. It'll be very helpful. There's tons of other trainings on there too. I think there's over 300 free training videos on there that you can get access to. Okay. So check that out. Where are we? Hold on a minute. Okay, good. Adrian asks, how do you go about customers choosing only the cheapest option? The answer is, I don't. I do not entertain customers that are exclusively focused on price. Zero, zips, nada. It is a losing game. You do not want to be the Walmart of freight brokers. Okay? Now, you may not be able to justify being the Ferrari of freight brokers, right? But you definitely don't want to be the Walmart. So here's how I handle it. Early, one of the easiest ways to do this is early in your communications, early in your cold call, in the first couple of minutes of talking to somebody during your cold call, after you've gotten their attention and you start a dialogue, you might want to say something like this. And this is how I develop my sales strategy. I say, listen, Mr. Prospect, I want to be transparent with you. All right. If price is your number one concern and the number one variable on how you measure freight brokers, I'm probably not the right guy. And here's why. Because rarely am I ever going to be the cheapest. But if you'd like to know why my shippers are willing to pay me a little bit more, I'll be happy to explain that to you. And at that point, very rarely do they ever say, oh no, I'm only focused on price. It's like, go ahead, explain. And that gives me an opportunity to explain. But if they are focused exclusively on price, at that point, if they say, Dennis, if you're not the cheapest rate, then you're never going to get any business from us. I will very nicely, cordially, and with total sincerity say to them, thank you so much for not wasting either one of our times. We're definitely not going to be the cheapest, but let me leave you with this. If you ever run into a situation where cheap isn't getting it done, I'm going to send you my contact information via email, and you can always reach out to me at that point. I really appreciate your time. And I'm out. I exit stage left. I do not want to be a part of that conversation. I do not waste my time on cheap freight. And I strongly, strongly suggest that you don't waste your time being the cheapest. Now, rating is a science. There's a little bit of a science to it, right? You know, it's easy to be the most expensive. It's easy to be the cheapest. It's hard to be right, in the sweet spot, what I call the sweet spot, in the middle, right? A little bit more than they're paying now, but within their tolerance of budget. So yeah, I hope that helps, Adrian, but I don't entertain cheap rates, especially if that's the only thing they're focused. I want them focused on service. I want them focused on relationship. I want them focused on loyalty. I want them focused on, the benefits that I can bring above and beyond just price. Okay. As a broker, what is the best software program you can start? Well, there's lots of software out there. I'm assuming you're talking about TMS. So here's what I'm going to do. We have a preferred vendor. Here's what I want you to do. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS. This is a Ascend TMS. We have a preferred partnership with them. I've known Tim Hyam, the CEO, for years. We have a great relationship. We've had hundreds of students that have utilized the software. or have taken free trials and that sort of stuff. If you go to this URL, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS, you can sign up for a free trial with no credit card. All you have to do is you have to use FBBC, Freight Broker Bootcamp, FBBC, in the coupon code, right? Because when you enroll, there'll be a place for a coupon code that will let them know that you came from my community. You'll get this special deal with being able to enroll, as well as they're going to give you a shipper directory, a freight broker shipper directory. They're going to provide it to you. It doesn't come from me. It's a different directory than is a part of my Freight Broker Bootcamp. It comes from them, but you will get that special offer. And Ascend is the most popular software in our community of people that have already completed the training and went on to start their business. They're very innovative. They're very forward thinking. They're very competitive price-wise, affordable. And they let you get started for $0, right? You don't even, you can use their software for $0, and then you can later choose to upgrade to more features if you choose to later. So it's kind of a freemium model, but we highly recommend it. So you can check that out for Freight Broker Transportation Management Software. That's where you're going to go. Okay. freightbrokerbootcamp.com/TMS. Good question. Thank you. Okay. Steve J asks, what makes a compelling sales hook? All right. So compelling sales hook has to be different. You can't sound like everybody else. It has to be relevant, meaning it has to speak in the terms and the language that your shipper speaks in. So it has to be relevant to them. And it has to be contextual, meaning the more contextual you can make it, the better. What do I mean by contextual? So for example, if you were to gather some sales intelligence before you got on a phone call with a prospect and you found out that they recently acquired another company, or they recently launched a new product, or they recently set up a new facility, or there's some sort of news associated with that prospect, okay, or with the industry, and that news is newer and more contextual, meaning it's relevant now versus news that was 3 or 4 or 5 years old, right? That is what I mean by you have to be different, you have to be relevant, you have to be contextual. So those are the things that make the best sales hooks, right? They're not generic in nature. They're much more dynamic, right? That's why I strongly suggest taking a couple of minutes and gathering sales intelligence on your prospect using their website, using Google, using LinkedIn. And I teach the entire sales hook, my entire sales hook formula in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. That's a big part of the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, which is my sales hook formula. I teach you, not only do I give you sales hooks, but I also teach you how to create your own sales hooks, right? That's a big part of it. That's important, because if you can't get past the first 5 to 15 seconds, it doesn't matter how good you are at servicing the business if you never get a chance to get on the dance floor. Okay. So, and the first part of getting on the dance floor is getting their attention. And that's where that sales hook comes in. So we spend a lot of time on that in my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Get on the wait list. You're going to hear me beat the drum for the next several weeks. You're going to be hearing me get on the wait list. If you don't get on the wait list, not my fault. Don't be mad at me when you don't get enrolled. Okay. When you miss out. All right, I'm looking. Let me read this. Okay. All right. So that wasn't a question. I already answered that one. Thank you, Tony. Kind words. Thank you. Okay. So Michael 46 says, hello, Dennis. How were you able to navigate your brokerage through the economic crisis in 2008? Okay. So I started my brokerage in 2003. In 2008, obviously, we had an economic crisis. We had the Great Recession, as they call it, right? 2007, 8, 9 was kind of a challenging time period in the global economy. And So the question is, how did I navigate that? First of all, I want you to understand. In 2004, we did $1 million. 2005, we did 3 million, or a little more. 1, 3, 6. 4, we did $1 million. 5, we did 3 million. 2006, we did 6 million. 2007, we did 12 million. 2008, we did 18 million. And from 2008 to 2009, we did 18 million again. And then in the following year, I think we did 23 or 25 million, something like that. Okay. So here's the secret. But notice we went 18 million. We didn't drop to 15 million or 10 million. The bottom didn't drop out of our business. What did we do? We did 2 very important things. One, we got very, very close to our existing customers. Meaning, once we felt the economy starting to turn, we started having dialogues with our customers to try to understand how that was affecting their business and how we could position ourselves to help them through the crisis. So we were focused on providing a solution to them. Which internally helped us in our business because it brought us closer to our customers and opened up new opportunities that help, solidify the bond of those relationships. Some of those relationships we'd had for many years. Some of those relationships were brand new, but we got very, very close to our customers. We had a lot of phone conversations, a lot of face-to-face conversations, and that's how we enhanced that customer relationship. We also, on the other side of the coin, we also continued to prospect. We didn't stop prospecting because we understood the importance of keeping your sales funnel high, right? And keeping your sales funnel full. Yeah, of course, when there's a downturn in the economy, you're going to have less of a sales funnel if you do the same amount of work and you're approaching the same companies than you will in an up economy. But the fact is, you can still get customers during a down economy. Because here's the challenge, right? When there's a down economy, shippers, yes, there's less freight, but there are also other struggles associated with that economy. For example, a lot of times carriers will park their truck during a down economy because freight rates go down. And so when freight rates go down, there's less capacity. Okay. There's less trucks on the road when freight goes down than when freight goes up. When freight skyrockets, all kinds of people throw their trucks on the road because there's an opportunity to make money. But when rates go down, people pull their trucks off the road. Okay. And so there's less capacity. Makes sense, right? It's just basic math, just basic economics. So ultimately, what we did is we continued to prospect. We did not stop prospecting. That kept our sales funnel full. We were able to generate new clients. But what we didn't do is we didn't high pressure those clients, right? We took a long-term approach, right? We looked at the horizon 3 to 6 months out, not 3 to 6 days out. Okay. So we took a little bit longer horizon. We focused on developing those relationships. And over time, when the economy started to pick back up, or when that specific industry started to pick back up, we were in a great position to capitalize. And that's what ended up happening. And then we went from 18 million to whatever, 25 to 30 something to eventually 80 million a year when I sold the company. So that's a macro look at what we did. Okay. So I hope that helps. All right, scrolling. Okay, so Sandra has a question. Have you ever heard of any creative, unique niches that were successful? Any markets that people haven't heard of, shippers that haven't heard of, or shippers aren't getting bombarded by brokers on a daily? Okay, so here's the thing. I can't give you an exact niche, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you kind of a macro look at this, a top-down approach. The more simple, all right, the less complexity to the freight, the more competition there is. So van loads are probably one of the most competitive freight modes out there, right? So if you're looking at van loads versus reefer versus flatbed versus specialized, right? So if the less complexity that is in the move, right, the more competition there is. But within the van space, there's complexity, right? Sometimes these are multi-stop loads. I'm sorry, I hit the mic. But it's easier to cover a one pick, one drop van load than it is to cover a two pick, four stop van load, right? So the level of complexity will sometimes ward off competition. Okay, so does that make sense? So if you're looking for less competition, you have to look for more complex problems, more complex challenges, more complex freight. That's the reason why there's less competition in heavy haul, oversized, overdimensional heavy haul freight, which has a whole different layer of complexity to it than van freight. So while I'm not going to sit here and give you a niche, that gives you a framework for you to identify niches that might be something that you've already looked at or entertaining, or maybe a subset of an existing niche, right? So what I did was I took van freight, rather than me just focusing in on vans, I added a geographical element to it, and I focused on van loads that originated in the Northeast and went west or south. That's how I niched down a little bit further, so I could differentiate myself, so I could be an expert in that niche rather than trying to be an everything to everybody van guy, right? So yeah, so that's just a little bit of feedback. I hope that helps, Sandra. Okay, so Justin asks, how do you navigate calling a shipper you are familiar with via co-workers at a recent company? Well, if you used to work for a shipper and you still have relationships at that shipper, okay, particularly if those relationships are in the logistics, transportation, warehousing, supply chain division or department, well, then you've got a pretty easy way in, right? You've already got an existing relationship. It's not a cold call. Now, the better of a relationship you had with them while you were there, the more likely they are going to respond to you when you call them. But if you can reference, even if it was a distant relationship and you kind of had an arm's length relationship with them, you are going to have a leg up on most of the competition that's trying to call on them, because you already have an existing relationship. Remember, know, like, trust. That's a process everybody has to go through. If you already know that person and they already like you because you already had a pre-existing relationship, you've only got to get past the trust factor. You still got to get past the trust factor. Now, if they trusted you, know, like, and trust, now all of a sudden you got a green light. Okay? If they have some sort of need, right? If they don't have need, then it doesn't matter, right? So yeah, so I think it's an ideal situation if you have an existing relationship with somebody at a shipper, whether you used to work there or not. If you have a pre-existing relationship with someone that works in shipping, then reaching out to them, starting a dialogue, and developing that know, like, and trust is a lot easier than doing it on a cold call. So I think you have a huge leg up. Don't overcomplicate it. I mean, reach out to them and explain why you're calling. You don't have to have a sales hook at that point. You just have to tap into that relationship. You still have to have a sales hook. You just don't have to have as compelling of a sales hook. Your sales hook is the fact that you already had a pre-existing relationship. Hey, Joe, it's Dennis Brown. Do you remember me? Yeah. Okay, great. Well, yeah, I worked at XYZ company for about 10 years. And I don't know if you know or not, but I recently migrated over and started my own logistics company. I'm just reaching out to everybody that I knew. And I wanted to just chat with you for a second. First, check in with you, see how everything's going. And then secondly, see if we could schedule a time where I might be able to talk in a little bit more detail about how we might be able to help you. I mean, that just flew off the top of my head. I mean, I didn't have that scripted out, but ultimately, that's an example of how you might be able to approach those people and start a dialogue, because it's all about starting a dialogue. Okay. Hope that helps, Justin. What's the D in A? AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. First, you have to get their attention. Then you got to get their interest. Then you got to generate desire. Then you have to have a call to action, right? AIDA. Justin asks, helped book loads for them without direct contact with the shipper contact. Do you mention that history? Sure, absolutely. If you've already supported one of their other pickup locations or deliver locations, or maybe you were a carrier that's been in and out of their dock very frequently because you've hauled a lot of their freight and now you're a freight broker. Yeah, mentioning the fact that you've been involved with the company creates that know, like, and trust. Anything that enhances the know, like, and trust, okay, is positive, is good. So yeah, I wouldn't have an issue with mentioning the fact that, if I was a carrier or a driver and I now migrated over into brokerage and I had picked up at a location in Buffalo, New York for XYZ Manufacturing and delivered down to Atlanta and to one of their customers, I would definitely reference the fact that I've been on their dock, that I hauled their freight, that I know what it takes to haul their freight. I've been in the truck. I've helped load the truck. I understand their product. I understand where their delivery locations are. I know who their customers are. I know how to get there safely. I've already proven I could do it. So let's talk about that, right? As a first step. So yeah, I think that's very reasonable, Justin. Okay, this is a good question. Marlon Roberts asks, should I introduce myself as a freight broker when talking to shippers? I never did. I didn't like, and remember, different is better than better. So one of the simple things that you can do to differentiate yourself is to not introduce yourself as a freight broker. Introduce yourself as a 3PL or a third-party logistics company, right? Now, granted, that term is overused also, but it doesn't have the negative connotations that some people consider when they hear the term freight broker, okay? So yeah, I think I never did. We always used 3PL, third-party logistics. That's what we always used. We didn't use freight broker. I'm not big on the term freight broker when it comes to marketing or sales in your business. So I would use 3PL, third-party logistics company, supply chain consultant, whatever you wanted to do. That's what I would use. Good question, Marlon. Thanks. Justin says, do shippers factor in whether or not a broker is local? Would it help to offer on-site services? I don't think most shippers care if you're local. The benefit to being local is you can be there. You can actually break bread with them, have lunch with them, meet with them, shake their hand. It's very easy because you got to understand it's a lot easier to build know, like, and trust when you can shake somebody's hand than when you're all the way across the country. It can still be done. It's still done every day. Matter of fact, I would tell you that probably 90% of the customers that we did business with, we never actually met face to face. Okay. But the fact is, it's easier doing it face to face. So you might be able to see benefit in building rapport quicker if you did entertain local clients. As far as on-site services, that depends upon the shipper's need, right? I don't know what type of on-site services they have. But if you were local, that certainly could potentially give you a leg up. Awesome, Steve. Thank you for getting on the wait list. You won't be disappointed. It'll be opening up soon. Okay, so Keith Lemon, here's the answer. I have two programs. One is my Freight Broker Boot Camp, which is my startup program for new freight brokers and new freight agents. That program is online. You can access it 24/7. As soon as you enroll, you get instant access to all the training. That's a go at your own pace training program. Okay. So that program you can get enrolled in at any time. You just go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com. That's it. That's all you got to do in order to go there. In order to get enrolled is go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com and just go there and you can get instantly enrolled in instant access. That's my startup program. Now, the other program you've been hearing me refer to is my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. That is my more advanced Freight Broker Sales Training Program. That's a 5-week coaching program. Now, that program, I open up usually about once every quarter. I open that up and I limit it to 100 students. That's what I've limited it to up to this point, is 100 students at a time. I'm going to be opening up enrollment for that program in February or March, hopefully by mid to late February. That's open. The only way you can be a part of that program is if you get on the wait list. You've heard me beat the drum about that. So in order to be notified when that opens up for enrollment, because it sells out very quickly, you got to get on the wait list. So those are my 2 programs currently. There may be other programs in the work, but that's currently the 2 programs: Startup and more advanced Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. And that's how you would get enrolled. All right, let's see. All right. Mark Townsend says, niching to flatbeds out of Oregon. Should I niche only to lumber starting out or anything flatbed? Okay. So, this is a question. How far do you niche down? I believe that you could, depending upon the size of the market, you could just do the niching down into flatbed out of Oregon, and then you could make lumber one of the industries that you approach, because that's going to be an industry that runs on flatbed. So me personally, and again, I'm just giving you my personal perspective without having done a lot of research on that niche, I would probably just say flatbed out of Oregon. And then at that point, I would make a list of all the industries and companies that use flatbeds. And then I would approach all of those industries as quickly as I could and see where I'm able to get traction. And then if I'm getting most of my traction in one specific industry, like steel or lumber or oil and gas or whatever it is, right? Whatever that industry is, then I may double down on that industry, but I probably wouldn't limit myself, especially as a startup. So I hope that helps. Okay, so here's a question from Adrian. Is it relevant to offer your service to a prospect even though they have trucks? Maybe when they get busy, they don't have the capacity, or if the trucks break down. Yes. Just because a shipper, a manufacturer, producer, distributor, a shipper, not a carrier, but a shipper has their own private fleet, doesn't mean that they don't outsource some of their work. It's not uncommon that they will outsource some of their work. They may outsource their inbound freight. They may outsource their partials. They may outsource their international freight. There's lots of things they might do. They might not have enough trucks for demand. They may not want to send their truck to Regina, Saskatchewan, because they know it's a nightmare getting back. They might want to outsource that. So yeah, I think it's worthwhile. Now, you're going to hear very often from those people that we have our own trucks. At that point, you've got to be prepared to handle that objection. And the objection we just talked about. You need to ask a follow-up question. Well, Mr. Jones, I understand you have your own trucks, and congratulations on that. I'm sure things are going well. But let me ask you a question. What happens when? What happens if? Do you ever outsource in the event of? Right? So now you're peeling the onion back one layer more, and they're going to say, oh yeah, well, our inbound, we all do. I thought you were talking about our outbound. Yeah, for sure. Let me connect you with the guy who handles our inbound. Or, it's funny you mentioned that, because we've got a bunch of trucks that are being serviced right now, and we wish we had wish they were available because we've got trucks sitting or we got loads sitting on the dock that we need to get out. Customers are upset. Maybe you can help. Do you haul vans from A to B? Well, yeah, of course. Okay, great. Let's talk. Right. So yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea, but just know you're going to hear from shippers that say they have their own equipment. And that's a lot of times what they use is an objection, a smokescreen objection to push brokers away or other carriers away. Okay. But I think it's a great idea because you're going to have less competition there. Okay, so Helios Gaming asks, how often should I take follow-ups on email in a month so that I don't irritate my shipper? Okay, so follow-ups. So a lot of your sales follow-up depends upon how the last call ended. If the call ended with, we don't need your services now, okay, then what you might want to do at that point is ask them, would it be okay if I followed up with you periodically via phone or email? Yes. Okay, great. I'm going to tee this up for a month from now and we'll revisit this. Hopefully at that point, things are still going well for you, but if you have any need, we'll be happy to step in and help. Right? So yeah, so one of the biggest variables is how did the last call end? And then asking them, do they mind you following up? And they may say, when you say, I'm going to tee it up and I'm going to call you or email you next month, they may say, no, you know what, hold on. Why don't you reach out to me in March or April or May? Our busy season picks up in June. Why don't you talk to me in May? We might be able to get together with you then. So now you gathered some sales intelligence because you now know when their busy season is. And number two, you've just got permission to call them. Right? So ask some clarifying questions at the end of your last engagement, and that will sometimes give you some solid direction on how and when to follow up with them. Hope that helps. All right, let me see. What time is it? Oh my God. All right. Okay, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for today. All right, this is going to wrap it up for today. Listen, I want to thank you for being here. If you're not yet on the wait list for the Freightbroker Sales Accelerator, the link is on the screen. Check it out at freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. It'll take you 15 seconds to get on the wait list. We'll send you some updates along the way. You'll get notified when we release it. But if you're just sitting here and just looking to get started as a freight broker and you're curious, but you're struggling with putting all the information together, you're watching videos on YouTube and you're searching on Google and you're hearing things on social media, but ultimately you're looking for some solid direction, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. We've trained over 10,000 students. I've had that training program for over a decade, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. There's nobody else in the industry that does that. I promise you. Most of them don't even guarantee their training, let alone offer a 60-day unconditional money-back guarantee. So you have zero risk. Check it out at freightbrokerbootcamp.com, and make sure you join me next week for another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Make sure you subscribe, like this stream wherever you're at, and we'll see you next week for another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Thanks for joining me, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.